Okay, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, welcome back to another Tech with Scott podcast. Let me just make sure everything's up and running. It looks good. And or Tech with Scott extended podcast thing. And today we're going to be discussing, ladies and gentlemen, the crazy MacBook marketplace right now. So many products out there, so many specs to compare. It's so confusing. What do you do if you're a consumer? Where do I buy it from? Do I buy it reused or refurbished? Do I buy it new from Apple's website? Do I buy it off Amazon refurbished? Do I buy it off Amazon new, Best Buy, Newegg? What do you do, right? What do you do? I don't even have the answer to this question. I have some thoughts on it. I can tell you in this video. It's super complicated. There's so many options when it comes to MacBooks that honestly, there's too many options that people end up getting scared and they end up not making a purchase decision. So let's hop right into it. If you guys enjoy this sort of long form content, this episode probably won't be too long in my opinion. However, if you do go on to enjoy this, why not just share this, subscribe, like this video, like this podcast, and I'd be a massive fan of you guys. Thank you so much. And so without just like background context, I don't want to have my camera follow me. There we go. Just for some context, I use a MacBook Air M1. It's currently right there, charging on my bed. And you may be asking, why did I buy this? Mostly just for video editing. That's like primarily the only reason. Maybe watching some movies and YouTube videos on there, checking email, going on the internet, that sort of thing. Very, very sort of focused, practical reasoning there. I didn't buy this thing because I knew I was going to be like out on the go and like I knew I needed this machine for basically like one or two things, like at most. And I think that's what technology is for, right? Except for a PC. I'd say a PC you can do like literally anything on. It's gaming PC in particular. I have one. I game on it. I do productivity work. I can literally do anything on my PC. I can even do like financial stuff, budgeting, whatever, what have you. That MacBook, like it's portable. It's small. It has an M1 processor in it. I'm using it for video editing primarily. Like, let's just get that right out of the way. Video editing, and also I use it for Canva when designing thumbnails, and sometimes I'll use it for voiceovers using the built-in microphone, and also maybe record a video. If I'm recording a video, I don't really care about the quality because it only records 720p video on the HD FaceTime camera, which is like really lousy and blurry, but I do it anyway if I'm in a pinch. So yeah, M1 MacBook Air 13-inch, like the one that came out back in like 2020, using like a really old MacBook Air design, the wedge shape, which is classic. It's nice. It's practical. It's portable. It's light. You get the gist. Great battery life. Great performance. Hence why I'm using it to edit. That's like the only reason. It's kind of crazy on a machine with a processor that old, using the Apple Silicon chip Gen 1 version of it, just to say it's still running like so smooth. I experienced basically no hiccups. Also really impressed with the battery life on that thing too. The Apple Silicon chips do a great job at battery efficiency, battery health, and battery conservatism, and also battery charging optimization. All those things combined. Anyway, so let's hop into Apple's website. That was just some context, as in like this is what I'm currently using. And once again, my camera wants to follow my face. There we go. That's context for what I'm currently using. Now, what else did I look at when I was researching laptops? Obviously, I had the money to spend more money on a laptop. Did I want to? I really did in the moment. I was like, oh, I really want this M1 Pro or M2 Pro 14-inch MacBook because it has, more port selection. It has, and I'll debunk the port selection thing in a minute. More port selection, bigger screen, more vibrant screen, sharper screen, 120 hertz dynamic refresh rate. All this sort of stuff, better speakers. Like I could have paid for it, obviously heavier, which is a con. Could have paid for it, ended up deciding not to. I was like, am I really going to utilize all that stuff? Probably not. So let's make the smart financial decision, and we are going to spend less money on the base MacBook Air with a good M1 chip in it that's portable and can also video edit at the same time. And how am I liking it? I'm loving it so far. As you can see, I've made like so many videos on this thing on the channel. I've enjoyed making the content around that laptop. I absolutely love this laptop, and I use it for very niche purposes, as I mentioned earlier. So where does that take us? Where does that lead us next in this discussion? The ports thing, you can use a dongle, right? Get a little dongle if you're not into lacking ports. Or if you think you need ports on a laptop, just go buy a dongle. It's like $10 off Amazon. It's cheap. Gives you everything you need. Fast transfer speeds. Like, you're literally fine. Anyway, let's share my screen and let's look over what we got in store, starting with MacBook Air. This is the one I currently have. So we got MacBook Air 13-inch, MacBook Air 13-inch M2. There's actually a difference in these. Or maybe not. Oh, this is a MacBook Pro. Yeah, there is a difference in screen size here. Like, this is 13.3, this is 13.6. So 0.3 inches bigger. That does actually make a difference because this is on a diagonal. So the width and length are increasing proportionally. And then the MacBook Pro, I don't know why they have this listed here, but this is like the old version, I'm going to call this like the mini MacBook Pro because it's also 13 inches. This is the one they just stuck an M2 in. But I have this guy over here. I also upgraded the core count on mine to 8 cores. It comes standard with 7. I was like, why not? Like, it's barely any more money. I'm pretty sure it was like $20 extra. Up to 16 gigs of RAM. I only have 8, which is kind of a pain. That can, bottleneck it sometimes. I kind of wish I got 16, but it's not that big of a deal. Storage, I upgraded that to 500 gigs. 18 hours battery life. I think that's true. I haven't really tested the battery life too much, but on average, yeah, that sounds about right. I don't doubt it. And then we got like the new M2 one, and it comes in all these fancy colors. I've done videos on this. Starlight, the midnight color, that's notorious for getting massive smudges on it. And don't buy that one. Just buy Space Gray. Looks nice. They also dropped the price of this. It used to be $11.99. They dropped it to $10.99, which is great. The cheaper the better, because it's the same machine and it's less money now. And because the base price is now lower, it's going to be lower on Amazon. So going back to my initial question, don't buy laptops on on Apple's website brand new. Buy them refurbished because you get $150 off just refurbished, and it's basically still a new laptop. Obviously, Apple has a good credibility, has a good brand reputation. They're not gonna like sell you a piece of junk refurbished laptop. They're gonna make it like basically brand new. They'll replace the battery if they have to. They'll wipe the screen down. They'll clean everything, and essentially like it's only they'll show you the charge cycle on it. And it'll be like a couple charge cycles. So they sold it to someone, they returned it, and they're selling it to you refurbished. Basically a brand new laptop. That's what I did. Trust them. Don't buy this stuff off Amazon. Do not trust Amazon sellers. I don't. Never have. That's why I buy new stuff on Amazon. And then this MacBook Pro M2, which I don't know why this exists, because like the M2 Air is better than it in almost every way, other than having a fan. It's the only reason why you should ever buy an M2 MacBook Pro 13-inch. Because it has a fan, it can do better under intensive workloads. If that makes sense, comment down below if that made sense to you guys. If it didn't, I'll be happy to further explain that in another video. Here we go with the MacBook Pros. I just kind of talked about this one. Don't buy that. Not the only reason you want that is if maybe it's on sale and I don't know, you like smaller devices and you want a fan in it. That's the only reason. But you're getting like outdated specs in that one and still a lot of money. So go with the MacBook Air M2, 13-inch. We also have a 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro. These are the ones I was talking about earlier, how they have like, that like 14 and 16-inch liquid retina XDR display. So it's like mini LED. That means there's like just smaller LEDs in the panel and more of them, meaning like there's local dimming, so you get better contrast. It's not exactly like OLED, but since there's like more dimming zones, they can better tweak the contrast ratios there, the whites and the blacks, if that makes sense. These also come with like better chips in them, the Pro and the Max chips, which are substantially better than the base model. There's more cores in the CPU and GPU department. You can do more on these. I like how they call it unified memory instead of just RAM, because Apple uses specific technology or terminology, not technology, terminology for their technology they'll use. Oh, and also battery life is good on the 13-inch Pro. As you can see, it's better. This cheaper device has better battery life than the big boys here. Well, except this one, because this one's huge. But it has better battery life than the 14-inch, which is actually bigger than it. Bad FaceTime camera on this one. Better on here, although it's still a laptop webcam. It's still not going to be that great. Only a 3... Oh, not mic. Do they have anything? Oh, they do. Stereo speakers with spatial audio. I'm sure it sounds decent. Mine sounds decent. But you're going to get a massive upgrade once you go to the bigger Pro laptops. Like, you start getting a 6-speaker audio system with spatial audio with incredible bass. You can't match it. And yeah, this one's only 3 pounds, and this is like half a pound heavier, and this is 1.7 pounds heavier. And you also get a touch bar on the old one. But there's also this new, for like the Mac, I've talked about this a little bit. There's also a new 15-inch model of the MacBook Air. I've talked about this. It's literally just the M2 Air, just bigger, also with a bigger battery. However, battery life is the same because it's also a bigger screen. Resolution's also a little bit different, which changes sort of the scaling of the screen. You can see more on the screen at once with this laptop compared to the 13.6-inch M2 MacBook Air. This is confusing my brain. Same chip in it. Like, they didn't really change much here, other than like the speaker setup is now 6 speakers instead of 4. It's a sharp display. I don't know why they didn't add ports on here. Yeah, and they're like. Anyway, let me come back. This is so confusing with like how many laptops this company sells. So if you want my honest opinion, my honest, humble opinion on what laptop you guys should buy, if you're listening to this episode of Tech with Scott Extended, which, by the way, if you made it to this point, thank you so much. I appreciate everyone watching this video. If you want my humble, honest opinion, and you want to know, say you have roughly $1,500 willing to spend max, right? That's your budget for this. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to spend all of it. You have a preference not to spend all of that money because you could use the remainder on, I don't know, food or appliances or rent or a bunch of other things that you could save your money on. If you want my humble opinion, just buy the M1 MacBook Air like I have, because it's so cheap and can do like 99% of every other laptop I mentioned in this video. Now, if you need it for a little bit heavier tasks, you could just bump up the specs on it. If you want the latest and greatest and you're willing to spend all $1,500, you could also buy an M1 Pro MacBook Pro 14-inch from a couple of years ago. I think it was 2021. That one's a great value because it's on sale like all the time. You can get it for around $1,500 off Best Buy, I believe, refurbished. Or no, I think actually brand new. So go with that one. M2 Air is also a great option if you want to still save some money. Like the base model M2 Air is fine. The SSD is a little slow. However, it's a newer design. If you want a newer design and some updated specs with the M2 processor in it, that's a good option too. If you want the bigger screen, get the 15-inch version of it. I think that's also a great option. I'm just going to say stay away from like the M2 Pro and the M2 Pro 14 and 16-inch models, because those are just absurdly expensive and you don't need it. And you can't even pay for it with $1,500. So I'd say get an Apple Silicon laptop. Just steer towards like the lower end of the pricing spectrum. Like go with the lower end laptops because they're still going to give you almost everything from a practical standpoint as the more expensive laptops. Like, you just don't need these bells and whistles on a laptop for most use cases, unless you're MKBHD and you're having to edit, what is it, like 18 8K tracks at the same time using that new MacBook Mac Studio or something that came out with like the M2 Ultra chip. You don't need that. Just go get a lower end Apple Silicon laptop. You'll be perfectly fine. I guarantee it. That's been this episode of Tech with Scott, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, I made your buying decisions easier. Hopefully, I added value to your life. If I did, leave a like on this podcast. And yeah, comment down below what future episodes you guys would like to see. I love making all sorts of content for you guys. And with that, I will talk to you soon, everyone. Bye-bye.